I'm ready when you're ready. Okay, Bob, there you go. You ready? Okay. I'm going to call the meeting to order. This is the Genoa Township Board of Zoning Appeals, and this is May 23rd, 2023. It is 7:05 p.m., and we are at the Genoa Township Hall, 5111 South Old 3C Highway in Westerville, 43082. We have two agenda items tonight. One is the second meeting of a variance at 5719 Torrey Pines Avenue, BZA case 2023-05. And the second is BZA case 2023-06, which is an area variance for 5777 Richwood Avenue. And this is its first meeting. We have staff present of Susan Dorch, our Deputy Zoning Inspector, and we have Paul Benson, our Deputy Zoning Inspector. And I will call the roll. Mr. Phillips?
Here.
Ms. Yu?
Here.
Mr. Hanson? Here. Mr. Boone?
Here.
Mr. Christian is not here, and Bob DeRose.
Here.
Okay, and the chairman's here. And I will read this statement into the record as per usual. As is the adopted policy of the Board of Zoning Appeals, all applicants will be granted an opportunity to make their formal presentation. The audience will then be granted an opportunity to comment, followed by questions from the board. This policy was adopted by the Board of Zoning Appeals to provide for the orderly discussion of business scheduled for consideration. The chairperson may limit repetitive debate. The first item that we need to consider is the minutes from the prior meeting held on April 25th, 2023. I'll give you a moment to look that over, and then I will entertain a motion to approve. You guys good?
Good. I'll make a motion to approve the April 25th, 2023 meeting minutes as presented. Second.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. Okay, any discussion? Just for the record, I had a quick question of staff regarding the minutes, but I had read the minutes erroneously, and so there's really no issue that I saw with them. So, all in favor of approving the minutes from April 25th, 2023, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. All right, and then we will open the first hearing at 7:07 p.m. And I will read the legal notice into the record again. Christopher Nixon and Ramona Sarasama Nixon requesting approval of a variance to allow an in-ground swimming pool to be closer than the required 10 feet to the rear property line on lot 3693 in the Highland Lakes East subdivision at 5719 Torrey Pines Avenue, Westerville, Ohio, 43082, which is currently zoned planned residential, PRD, and this is continued from April 25th, 2023. All those that wish to testify in this matter, please rise and raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, thank you. Be seated. Let's see, we have exhibits A through D, which I think we received at the last meeting. And we'll start with staff, who has an updated staff report.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
So
I got it.
the applicant had submitted some revised drawings to our office on May the 15th, and you've all received copies of those drawings. Evidently, there's some new drawings that have been passed out for this evening, so I'm not quite sure what the changes are for those. But are these the same, or they're a little different?
Things that you sent me that
Okay, okay. So maybe the applicant should go ahead
Oh,
and,
I
do you
guess I'm
want
supposed to pass this
her
down.
to go ahead and address the items, since it seems
Yeah.
like she may have already
Is
addressed
she
some of the items from the,
familiar with the issues that you surfaced in the revised
they
staff
got, she got
report?
a copy. that-
She did?
The
Okay,
property owners
good.
got copies of the staff report, so
Okay.
it looks like the drawings have addressed the, like Highland Lakes. We do not, as Township Zoning Office, we don't enforce any zoning restriction, or excuse me, any HOA protective covenants or anything like that. But just through working over the years with the person who reviews stuff for Highland Lakes and Medallion and stuff, I'm just aware of some of them. So Highland Lakes, and I did clarify, I sent their person who reviews their architectural items an email, and Chris did respond back that, yes, they do have a required 2-foot setback off of the property line.
Okay,
So the original application had the fence on the rear property line, which they
Right.
would not have been permitted to do per the deed restrictions.
right.
And then also, I think, I think Dave questioned, or some of the board questioned at the last meeting, whether there was a requirement for how far the pool had to be from the fence, or, so I contacted the,
Greg Mill.
right, from the building department, and he emailed back that the pool code, the spa pool code that they follow requires a 3-foot walkway.
And that's
around.
Delaware County, correct?
Right, and they enforce the Ohio, it's like pool and spa code, I believe.
Okay.
So I did get an email back from him too. So that's the main new comments that I had in the staff report, were they were asking for, I think, 3-something from the property line. And for those 2 items, it'd have to be at least 5. And then also the other one was where the pool was measured to. The measurement looked like it was to the edge of the water.
The water as
And
opposed to the-
code, it measures to the edge of the pool, which most pools have, maybe a 10 or 12-foot lip or edging before you hit the concrete or the pavers, whatever, type of surfaces they have around.
10 inch or 12 inch.
Yes, right.
something
It's
like
You said 10.
12 feet, I think.
What?
You said 10 foot.
12 foot.
Oh, yeah, that would be really nice. Okay, sorry. Thank
Nobody
you.
gets a pool then.
Okay, inches, not feet. yes.
Okay.
Okay, so that was the main comments in the staff report, so
Okay.
I
All right.
think maybe those will be addressed then.
And then you also addressed retaining wall.
Yeah, that's true too. So the code requires that a retaining wall for every 1 foot
Mm-hmm.
of rise, it has to be 2 feet off the property line. And from the drawings, it looked like the retaining wall right up to the property line. So that was a question we had, which, may not be a factor here tonight, but when they submit for zoning permits, that was something that would have to be compliant and, may change their drawing, so.
Okay, well, hopefully this has all been addressed. So let's hear from the applicant.
So we're asking to have a 5 feet of encroachment from the property line to the pool edge. That's kind of the final number. So the 2 feet for the fence, and then the 3 feet for the walking around. As far as the pool edge and the retaining wall, I think that's in the, yeah.
For the pool
sir, would you
edge, I'm
please
sorry, my
introduce
name is Brent with Omni Pools and Scapes,
Oh, okay.
the builder.
So you said last time you to bring plans or the builder, so I brought both.
Good idea. Okay,
So we'll start with pool edge. On a fiberglass pool, there is a lip. So clarification is, that's what I really need clarification on, because that lip is buried by what we say coping, if you see on that picture. And that coping can be concrete. So you don't even see that true lip. So that's why on our measurements that I've ever seen, it's always to pool edge. Because that coping is like this, and you got
Right.
either concrete or a travertine. Like in this case, you see that outlined coping we got, that's travertine. So that's why,
So it's almost like an invisible, like you can't see like where it starts and where it stops if you're
Right.
looking at the pool. And it actually goes past the pool, like in the water. So if you start, you'd be measuring in the water if you start measuring from the coping,
from the
correct?
side to there, you're still, I mean, we're 5'3", but I need, if they're talking the lip that's totally buried, we would have to kick this out another 9 inches to be 6 feet 3 inches on here. Or, yeah, 6 feet, because it's 12-inch coping on that travertine. But my question is, if they're considering the coping, the pool edge, what if you do concrete? There's no coping. It goes straight up to the edge. I'm
That would
not
be
trying to
a-
confuse you,
That
but
would
I'm
be a
just trying to,
question for staff, because we don't,
okay.
So, you had put the name of the pool on here, so I pulled it up.
Yes.
And so that edging around the pool, I think we would, when we discussed it in the office, we would measure to that, but that's not part of the pool. You're saying that's just concrete.
No, I'm saying that you can have any material. Can I stand up and
Sure.
show you?
absolutely.
A little bit easier.
Yeah, we're having some
So
technical
this is
difficulties,
what
so
I
only
don't-
one's
I would
working.
want clarification on, because this is either a natural stone or an actual paver, okay? That's what we call coping. Now, that's where we normally would measure pool edge to property line. That's how we do it. In many cases, people will say, well, I don't want this because it's more expensive. I just want concrete. There's no coping there. So where do you measure that from?
Okay.
It's not pool edge. Pool edge
Okay.
would be right here. See what I'm saying?
Right. When I looked at the picture there, we thought that that was part of the pool.
No, the pool actually on a
So that's
fiberglass
great that you're
pool-
here, so you can clarify
Yeah,
this.
the fiberglass pools, they'll have a little lip, like 6, depending on the manufacturer, 6 to
Okay.
7 inch, but it's buried every time. It's either buried by concrete or a natural stone or a paver.
Okay.
And it's walkable?
Can I ask a question before you walk
I'm
away?
sorry.
If you look at this side of it, from the edge of the stone here, whatever the coping
Mhm.
is, how far is it back to the edge of the water, underneath?
On most cases, it
This one.
sits about a half an inch to an inch overlap. Edge of pool,
Okay,
in most cases, it's about an inch to an inch, or a half.
so is the one we're looking at tonight the same way?
Yes,
So it's only a half an inch back there to
that's
the
gonna
edge of
be
the
an
water?
inch, travertine's gonna be an inch over the edge of the pool, right
Okay.
Yeah, so
The
this
water
one,
edge is back 1 inch under.
there. Correct.
so they've made the choice on having it look like this.
That's
As
just a
opposed to
picture
just
I
the
pulled up
concrete.
off the
Right,
internet.
right.
Sure.
No, I know,
Yeah.
but you're, instead of just having plain concrete, you would have
Correct.
stones of some kind, is,
Correct.
yeah, that's what I was asking. Okay.
Okay, cool.
As, can I go ahead on the wall?
Absolutely.
Is that okay?
Yep,
If you wanna pull up
We don't have these pictures that she just passed out, so.
The side's actually the same, because that's up there.
oh, I think this is.
Yeah, we have it right
Straight,
here.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, we have it right
Yep.
here.
So that first part of the retaining wall,
Oh, okay, yeah.
we made a few. A little close to that. Go to- There, right there.
Mhm.
That's just the side view schematic. This retaining wall, how you're saying it's close to the fence, now we're a little bit further off, is what we call wall to bury, means it's going right into the ground. And so I had him put 0-0 for height, so it's not raised up a foot, though we have to kick it way back. The first height, correct, the first height that you'll see the dimension where it starts rising up at 2 feet 6 inches, we're 7 feet 2 inches off the property line. So we're more than double that.
But at the fence, it doesn't start coming out of the ground there?
No, this is we could not do a new one of these in time to get here. This is
Yeah.
the last one where this was a little bit raised up. Now it's even back further in here. It's what we call wall to bury or zero. So it's flush with the ground. Or you've
Right.
seen them where they stair step, it's called.
Right. And the reason we commented on that was we didn't want the property owners to get all the way through the variance process and then come in our office and we go, sorry, you can't do that. And then they're either changing their plan or they're back here, so.
So that start point where the retaining wall is, correct me if I'm wrong, it would be 2 foot back from the edge of the pool.
7 feet.
This will be 2 foot back from the edge of the pool, correct?
Yeah, back right in there, and that's buried.
Okay.
So then it starts going like this.
And that's
Makes sense.
that's the start of the berry.
Yeah.
Got
So
it. Mhm.
So Susan, you've seen this now? And this would, here, I'll ask an unfair question. This then complies with the requirement for the retaining walls, is that correct?
I mean, it appears to.
Right. Let's put it this way. I don't want to be in the position that you just talked about, where we
Right.
approve it and it's not, but on its face, it appears it is compliant
Correct.
with what the code
Right.
requires. Okay.
Can I ask another question of you then? If you're saying that this is no longer, there's no height there any longer, right? And it's gonna
No,
be
because we
moved
kicked it
this way?
back, correct.
Okay, did the ground come up or does the wall go down? Because it looks like there's some difference in elevation there, the way this is drafted.
We
You're
went,
saying if it's 0, what changed there?
5 feet smaller.
I was just gonna say, I just noticed that. It went from 38.
it went from
to
40.
33. 40, okay.
40 to 35.
Okay.
So the ground continues up then?
Yeah,
another
it goes
5
like
feet
this, pretty much, that whole, and then starts leveling out.
there. Gotcha, okay.
Okay.
That makes sense.
It allowed us a little more room to, I mean, we're really crunching numbers doing a 40-foot in there.
Right.
And also, my recommendation is let's just do a 35. We have more room to play with, and if we have to tweak this and that, it's gonna make this whole a
Right,
lot
'cause you-
easier.
It looks like you moved it down a little bit.
Yeah.
Made it smaller, and it seems to fit the space better.
My son might not make it to the Olympics, but we'll get a pool.
I was twisting her arm, trust me.
Susan, on the one corner, it requires a 3-foot sidewalk all the way around, yes?
That's per pool code, yes.
Yes, per pool code.
Not sidewalk, just space, a 3-foot space. Because I
I
called
I think
Greg.
it requires a
I called Greg this
3-foot
morning.
sidewalk.
No, I called Greg this morning, actually, and he said you could put sand, you could put pebbles, you could put grass, you could put whatever you want. It just has to be a walkway that's 3 feet.
Walkway.
Walkway,
Right,
yeah.
a
Yeah.
walkway, okay. And it looks like you have that anyway, though, from the coping, from the water line, and then including the coping, you've got 3 feet.
So is the coping a walkway? Is that considered walkway?
That would be again, that would be a compliance item for the county.
Okay, not something we need to worry about.
Correct.
Okay.
That was a question I asked earlier when Mark was talking. So when you build the coping in there, that'll be walkable, right? You can literally walk on that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir. It's done differently too than normal cases. When you're doing a coping like that, we actually have to do a 2-step process where we come in. That whole phase is done first, where we pour 6 to 8 inch concrete base or foundation. and then you lay whatever material, and you have to do an adhesive on that, so it's not moving or falling in the pool. So it's pretty, yeah, I mean, that has to last, because that's where everyone's sitting, standing, in and out of the pool.
Anybody, anything, Dave?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm the one that's
You're the
always
guy.
bringing up the
You're the
questions.
engineer.
Yeah, no, I think it looks good.
Okay, all right, because I don't have any questions. I think this, see, I knew if you came in, this kind of answers every question that I had. And so, I appreciate that you've made the effort to come in and that this, because I think this is what we were looking for the first time around. Not that the applicant did a poor job, it was just that you didn't have all the tools to make the presentation where we had something that made sense, that's all. And that happens, that's not that out of, it happens. Okay, so, does somebody do we have any other questions for staff or the applicant or anything? Oh,
Public comment.
I was just thinking I'd do that. Is there any member of the public that wishes to make a comment regarding the application? And since there is no members of the public, I guess that's a no. The only thing I did note, we got it in our email, I asked Susan to print it out, is that we did get an email, the staff received an email from the Highland Lakes, I guess this is their HOA, that they have not had a request from the homeowner to make changes on the property. Now, they're asking that permits not be granted until the homeowners follow the process required to get HOA approval. You guys want to maybe comment on that? Because I think we talked about that a little bit last time about contacting the HOA.
So I contacted them to see what exactly they wanted, and they have their like schematics of like X's and circles and how to do everything, but I didn't know where to put everything. And so I think I told you last time, I don't know like what starts first, the chicken or the eggs. Now that I have this and we can go with this, and I can draw their little X's and their circles and their highlighters and then give it to them. I mean, we can't do it without their approval anyways.
Right.
So I just figured this would be the easiest place to start with.
And that's a legitimate point, because we see that a lot. Sometimes the HOAs, depending on who it is, will say, well, go get your variance and then come see us. And then conversely, we've had instances where we've done exactly the opposite. Or the HOA says, no, you can't do it, and they come in here anyway. We've had a couple of those over the years, too.
Now, I figure we have to get it from both of you, but I thought this would be the easiest way, so at least I know where to put my
Okay.
X's and my
I
O's.
understand. I totally understand. Because I don't think, you developed this plan fairly recently, I take it.
I mean, we've been working for like, well, since October. of
Well,
last year
no,
we
I mean,
started.
the one that you gave us tonight.
Oh, the
one you gave
lines.
us tonight. And the other thing I will also mention, just just so you realize, the deadline for the submittal of the additional things that we asked for was last Friday. It was Friday the 12th. I got a call on Monday that I guess you guys had submitted it on Monday, and that was fine. But because I, as the chairman, I guess, have a little bit of discretion, I try and accommodate the homeowner as much as I can. But I could have said, nope, the 12th means the 12th, and then we would have been seeing you next month. But I don't think that's fair to anybody. I don't maybe want to be here just for this, and maybe nobody else does. So, like I said, just so you know, Friday meant Friday, not Monday. That's all.
Sorry, I brought the builder, so I thought that would be good enough, but I got the extra papers
I
just so you can
think the
visually
builder
see
was
it.
fine, thank you. And like I said before, and I editorialized a little bit before, you may remember, is that I've sat on this board for a long time, and it can be easy without the builder, but sometimes it's very frustrating when the builder's not in front of you and the homeowner is sent in unarmed and doesn't, well, this is what we want to do. Well, I try and give some discretion, even
appreciate
though it's a quasi-judicial hearing. I try and give some discretion, because I know you guys have never been in here before. But it does help immensely to have the builder in here, because he can answer their questions. So, okay, that's all I had. Does anybody want to go through Duncan versus Middlefield, or?
Sure.
What's your pleasure? People?
All right. Okay, so the board reviewed section 307.06 of the zoning resolution reflecting Duncan versus Middlefield as it pertains to the area variance requested from section 17090.1.b to allow for the swimming pool to encroach on the required 10-foot rear setback in a planned residential zoning district as follows. The property in question would yield a reasonable return, and there can be beneficial use of the property without the variance, because it's still have a yard, it just wouldn't have a pool in it. The variance is substantial. I did not calculate the variance. 50%, okay, so yes, it's substantial, it is 50%. The essential character of the neighborhood would not be substantially altered, and the adjoining properties would not suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance. This was presented at the last hearing where, given its position, there's nobody right behind them. Their other neighbors are kind of at a different angle. The variance would not adversely affect delivery of governmental services, and that was based on their review of the application. The property owner did purchase the property with knowledge of the zoning restriction because it was in force when they purchased the property. The property owner's predicament cannot be feasibly obviated through a method other than the variance. Yeah, the only way they can build a useful pool is with the variance. Otherwise, we've got a tiny splashing pool. The spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed, and substantial justice would be done by granting the variance, because they actually planned something very nice. They responded to all the comments, and yeah, a lot of planning. Okay. That's all of them.
That's it?
That's all of them.
Wow, where was I? Okay, and I give just as a comment, I give the homeowner credit for being willing to make the pool a little bit smaller, which kind of fit in the space better. So, to their credit, they did that. So, anybody want to make a motion then?
I'll make a motion.
Mr. Boone?
You want me to read the motion?
Dave,
Read through the motion.
so we'll do E and F.
Right.
Oh, I had them opposite.
Huh?
I had the email as E and
Email should be E
Okay.
and then the thing should be.
This was the first one
Yeah.
that we received on the 15th, and then tonight
Oh,
Gotcha.
right, okay, that's right, I forgot about that
is
one.
the new drawings.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Make a motion to approve, to incorporate exhibits A through F, as well as the board's findings pertaining to the review of section 307.06 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution into evidence, and to approve the requested variance from section 1709.01.b of the Genoa Township resolution for BZA 2023.
That's 5.
It's 05.
Mhm.
Application received March 31st, 2023, to allow for a swimming pool to be 5 feet from the rear lot line on property known as 3693 in Highland Lakes East Subdivision, 5719 Torrey Pines Avenue, Westerville, Ohio, 43082, zoned planned residential district, PRD. This motion is based on the following findings of fact pursuant to section 307.04 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution, that such variance or modifications will not be contrary to the public interest because of the belief that it is not encroaching directly on, over the property line into other neighbors' properties or a nuisance to the area in question. That owing to special conditions, the literal enforcement of this zoning resolution will result in an unnecessary hardship because there would be no unnecessary hardship. The only hardship would be as if we did not approve the pool, and other changes would have to be made to the size of the pool or what needed to be done in order to not allow for the pool to be built. That the approval of such variance or modifications thereof is consistent with the spirit of the zoning resolution, and substantial justice shall be done thereby, because there is no hardship for the pool. The pool would be in essence, the conditions around the area of where the house is and the surrounding areas. Approval of the subject variance is subject to the owner's agreement to the following conditions: inappropriate or incorporate any of the board wishes to apply, incorporate any of the board wishes to apply. All required permits, zoning and otherwise be obtained pursuant to section 301.11 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution. The approved variance shall lapse, expire, or be null and void ab initio, and required zoning permits are not obtained within 1 year of the motion of approval. Extensions to the variance may be requested pursuant of sections 307.11.A and B of the Genoa Township zoning resolution as may be amended. The Board of Zoning Appeals does grant the Genoa Township zoning inspector authority to extend a variance at their discretion, subject to the deadlines established within section 307.11A of the Genoa Township resolution as may be amended. And then are there any conditions associated to this? I think the only condition would be to make sure that the retaining wall setback is 2 times the height.
Compliant with the
That's not a
zoning
condition,
requirement.
they have to.
Well, they have to. Yeah,
That's true.
that's true.
That's part of compliance with the zoning requirements, I think.
Mr. Chairman, I think we should acknowledge too, the homeowners association letter. And
I
I
was
think that
just
should be a
thinking that.
condition, even though the property owner acknowledges that they have to get the
Yes.
approval of the issue. But I think we ought to make that a condition since we work with the homeowners association.
I was just thinking the same thing. So, may we include that as in the motion as well, Mr. Boone?
Yes, the HOA letter to be addressed and the homeowners association be contacted in reference to pursuant to building the pool.
I think it's subject to their approval,
Right.
right? That's what you meant?
Yes.
Yeah, subject to the HOA approval.
Homeowners association.
Yeah, because I agree with you, Mark. I don't want to ignore their comment.
Exactly.
Which I don't think will be an issue.
Shouldn't be. Should be a non-event. Okay, all right.
Second.
Second motion. Bob got it.
Oh, Bob's going to second, okay. Any further discussion on the motion? Okay, you ready to call the roll?
Yes.
Whoa. Okay, Mr. Boone,
Yes.
Mr. DeRose,
Yes.
Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Miss Yu?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Variance is approved. Good luck.
Enjoy your pool.
Will the pool be finished this year, this
No.
season?
I wish.
Ah. I've heard,
Start that.
I've heard there's about a year lead time on these. Oh, man.
It's a long lead
We'll have a
time.
party next summer, we'll invite you guys.
There you go. I went into the wrong business, I can tell. All right. And this hearing is adjourned at 7:39. Okay. Take a second here and change gears. Oh, and Mr. Hanson, are you going to sit on the next case? Thank you, Mr. DeRose. Nice. What's that? Yeah, we're gonna switch here. Okay, this is the other one. You know what, Paul? We should just take like a 5-minute break. What do you say? I guess we could delay this all day, but you guys look like you're ready, so.
7:43.
Okay, let's get back with it. It is 7:43, and we're going to open our second public hearing. And I will read the legal notice into the record. Troy and Ashley Golding requesting approval of an area variance to allow a principal building expansion to encroach into the required 30-foot rear setback and the 20-foot preservation zone at 5777 Ridgewood Avenue, Westerville, Ohio, 43082. Lot 2922 in Highland Lakes North, currently zoned planned residential, PRD, and this is BZA case 2023-06. All those appearing on this matter, please rise and raise your right hand. Okay. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. Be seated. Let's see. The legal notice for this hearing was printed and published on May 10th, 2023 in the Delaware Gazette and posted at the Genoa Township Hall on May 2nd, 2023. An attempt to mail notice of this hearing to property owners contiguous to and across the street from the subject property was also made. We have received into evidence exhibits A through D, which include the legal notice, the sign-in sheet, application, and staff report dated May 19th, 2023. And we will start with the staff report.
Thank you, Mark. So, the subject property is located at 5777 Ridgewood Avenue, and that's located in the Highland Lakes North subdivision. It's approximately a quarter of an acre, 0.246, 10.7 acre, and a zoning permit was issued in 1996 for the construction of the house that currently is on the subject property. And then that permit was revised, and there was an addition of a deck to the back of that house. And then on September 28th, 2009, an additional zoning permit was issued for a new deck, actually two new decks, one 14 feet by 16 feet, and another one 10 foot by 13 foot. On July 19th, the zoning department received an email from Simplified Living Architecture, and they were asking what the required setbacks, and they asked for lot coverage. There is no lot coverage in the plain residential districts. It's all based on their required setbacks. And then you have copies of our back and forth correspondence, and eventually they determined that they needed a variance to be able to build, and that they want to build an addition, a covered roof over top of the existing deck. The one thing was when the permits were issued in September of 2009, evidently, and this is not this current homeowner, it's a previous homeowner, the decks apparently were not constructed exactly to the size that they were permitted in the zoning permit. So the zoning permit, the decks just, this would be the far one, the one where they want to put the post roof over the top. Only go up to that preserved area, but evidently it now encroaches into that preserved zone. So
How far does it encroach, though? Did I see a foot?
it says
1.3.
Yeah, okay, all right.
And nowadays, for all the new subdivisions coming in, we don't put the preservation zones on individual lots anymore because they're really, really hard for staff to enforce. And we did give you a picture as part of the staff report, an aerial of the backyards there. Basically, there's very little vegetation in the rear yards to preserve. So most of the yards are grass, and Paul's got the aerial up there. So basically, and I did go back and look at previous aerials from years and prior, and it's pretty much looked like that since all the houses were built in the subdivision.
So it's not like it's a big wooded area or anything?
Correct. So that's currently what it looks like from, I think the aerials are like 2021.
And this is Highland Lakes again?
And Lakes North.
Okay.
Susan, where's the encroachment into the preservation zone? Is it in here or back here?
What's up by the house? Mark?
Up by the house?
Right.
Yeah, so the-
Like the edge of the deck is encroaching into that preservation.
That
About a foot.
that foot is, okay.
Yeah.
But it then it's, I'm gonna round it, 29 feet from that preservation zone, as opposed to being the 30 required, correct?
A little less.
I mean, yeah, round numbers, okay, it's 27 and change. Yes?
No, it's 18.7.
Oh, it's 18.
18.
Oh, I thought it was 30 feet, but it's,
The preservation zone is 20,
oh, okay, I misunderstood.
the rear setback is 30.
Oh, okay, okay,
So
got
an
it.
unroofed structure is allowed to encroach 10 feet.
Okay.
So when the original permits were issued for the two existing decks, that 10-foot encroachment was permitted for the zoning resolution. So now they want to add a roof, and a roof structure is not permitted
Right.
to encroach. So they want to encroach into that 30-foot rear setback, and also they're encroaching into that 20-foot.
And essentially what they
can-
wanted, they want to put a roof over the existing, essentially.
Correct.
Okay. So,
So-
yes, it's going to encroach.
So they were allowed to encroach 10 foot, but they encroached 11.3, so to speak.
Right.
Okay.
According to the documents, I mean, obviously, we don't go out and measure that, but according to the documents that they provided in their application,
Okay.
I'm assuming they're accurate. And the deck's not gonna move, because they're just gonna put the roof over the top.
Right. Okay.
I think that covered,
Is that kind of covered? Oh, I see.
when they did, the application was police, fire, and maintenance. No one responded, I mean, they responded back with no comments. We did put a sign in the front yard, to notify neighbors, and we did mail them to the police.
Susan, the encroachment of the deck, that's where the posts are, or is that where the pavers and concrete is at the bottom? Because it looks like they go out another foot also.
The property owner may be able to
Okay.
answer that better than I, because like I said, we don't go out, we didn't measure anything, this is just going from what they.
But if it's an impervious surface, is that considered an encroachment also?
According to the final development plan, nothing's supposed to encroach into that.
Okay.
Okay. I think we got it. Anything else for staff? No?
Not unless you have any other questions.
I do not. And you're Mr. Golding?
I am.
Okay. If you want to introduce yourself and then tell us briefly what you intend to do.
Yeah, so I'm Troy Golding, and I think Susan kind of hit on a lot of the details of what we're asking for, but in the picture there, you see the existing deck. In the picture, it's on the back right. We're essentially looking to put an A-frame roof over that deck. It would be a separate roof. It wouldn't be attached to the existing deck. We would just build over the
Oh,
existing.
so you're just going to build on this side, not over the entire thing, or no?
Not over the entire thing, just on, it would be the back left of the house, but if the way the
Oh, the
picture's
back
facing it.
left.
Well, the way we're looking at the picture would be the back right, I guess.
Okay.
And
Oh. See,
It would be-
I'm pointing to the picture and you're looking at
yeah, it
this
would be,
sketch.
it would be this side that we would build. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
And to Susan's point, yes, we're asking for an 11.3 encroachment to the setback. It's 1.3 into the preservation area. If you go back to the pictures of the aerial view, our neighbor directly to the left of us in that picture, that structure on the back left of their house is also a roof over the deck. They were approved for a variance of the 10-foot setback last year. I think the only difference would be is the 1.3 feet into the preservation area. But the precedent from the 10-foot setback for a roof over a deck was established
This house was approved for
a 10-foot setback last year.
by us?
Yes, I would assume that there's still Genoa Township.
Was it this point? Okay, and you're just basically, you're gonna build over right here.
Correct.
Mr. Golding, the fire pit and the stone and everything outside of the post is also in the preservation area.
Yep, and to Susan's earlier point, that was all constructed prior to us purchasing the house, and I don't think we realized, based on the fact that it was a lawn, that it was technically a preservation area, because in my mind, a preservation area, you wouldn't mow, it wouldn't be grass, it would be the woods extended up, so, yes, maybe we didn't do our due diligence of understanding that, but again, I don't think the way that we looked at it, we would have understood that it was a preservation area based on the way that it looked.
And that's the reason why we don't put them on individual homeowners
Yeah.
lots anymore, because
Yeah.
now all of the setbacks and all are built in so that it's open space and such, and not on an individual homeowner's lot, because it's really hard to enforce that, and like Mr. Golding said, when you purchase the house, you assume that you get to use the whole entire lot.
Sure.
so.
I mean, yeah, I can see that. And
Maybe
the house
not build
has been-
structures on all of it, but you
The
assume.
the house has been there for a significant amount of time as well. So you would, you know, I think anybody looking at it would say it clearly, if nobody said anything now, it must be compliant, I think is probably the assumption, right, wrong, or indifferent. Because you're right, that patio fire pit probably encroaches another 5 feet, 6 feet, based on what I can see there. But that's not what we're doing today.
I'm just trying to get
No, I understand. You're
a
right.
reference
Nope.
of, yeah.
Are you gonna rebuild that deck, or you just, I don't know how that works, so.
Yeah, as we were working with Simplified Living Architecture, we, again, are going to, they're gonna put posts outside of, like, the existing posts, so we wouldn't build, it wouldn't put any weight or anything like from the roof onto the existing deck.
Oh,
It would
I
all-
see, so you're gonna do a perimeter and
Yeah,
then-
so it'd go,
oh, okay.
all the posts and everything going down would be.
You know, I
essentially going
think I
around the
do
perimeter.
remember that application. It seems like it was a little sooner than a year ago, but I think I remember that. I don't remember it being in a preservation area, but I remember it being an encroachment of some kind. And I'm sure that you're aware that your homeowners association, let's see, I'll just read it to you. The Design Review Board has not had requests submitted from either of these, from you, to make changes to the property. We would ask that permits not be granted until the owners follow the process required to get the HOA approval. Have you approached them at all, or?
No, I think it was similar to the first case that you talked through this evening.
Yeah.
We didn't submit designs to them because we didn't know what designs would get approved, so we didn't know if we would have to put the roof further up the deck, and then that would change what we submitted to the HOA, so.
Good news is we're not a design committee, so.
So that, I mean, honestly, again, that just may have been our fault. We thought the first step would do this, and then we would submit to the HOA.
It's a little bit of a
but-
chicken and an egg discussion, to be honest with you. We, like I said before, we kind of see it both ways. Our preference would be that you go to the HOA, because if they say no, then you don't spend your money and get to come here.
Sure.
So, but, okay, that being said, I think we take that into consideration. I don't think that's for me, it's not a deal breaker, but,
So we don't.
because we don't
never-
enforce.
We never require a homeowner
Right.
or property owner to submit HOA approval because we do not enforce deed
Right.
restrictions.
So, like I said, we've had it both ways. Sometimes it's helpful if they say it's fine, but in this case, it is what it is, so, it's fine. Anybody have any questions for the applicant? Oh, does any member of the public wish to speak on this application? Oh, okay, hearing none, then we'll go back to Mr. Boone that has some questions.
So just to clarify, Mr. Golding, the posts for the roof will be right adjacent to the existing posts of the deck
They should be just
currently?
outside, so it would probably, again, if we're talking about a 1.3 foot, it might be slightly outside that.
Okay.
I'm not exactly 100% sure where they go, but what we've talked to with the architect is they would go just outside the existing post.
So the 1.3 foot is on top of the 1.3 foot, just to clarify, it's 1.3 foot on top of the 1.3 foot that's existing today.
No,
It's the
it
same
is the
1.3.
same.
That was gonna be my
Along the
question though,
same.
because I don't think you're asking for enough if you're gonna put those new posts behind the existing posts.
Yeah.
If the existing posts are 1.3 feet over the line now, we need to know how much you're gonna set those new posts behind
So
them.
if you go on the north, what I guess is the north end, you're gonna actually extend farther than 1.3 feet. If you go side to side, then you'll be
That's-
all right.
Yeah, so when I say outside, it's like the outside here. I don't think it's going back towards the nature preserve. I think it's
Okay.
on the outside.
So you're just
of-
gonna, so
sides.
we did.
Yes.
Wider.
The reason that is a kind of an issue is because we don't want to say, okay, 1.3, and then you really need 2.3.
That makes sense.
Or whatever the number, 1.9, I don't know, whatever it is. We want to get the number right the first time.
So 1.3 is the right number?
Yes, I believe so, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
What are the dashed lines? Are those roof overhangs around it? The dashed lines around the existing porch with new roof above?
I think that's the stone on the ground. That's
The
what I was
pavers?
question- I think so. That's what I was questioning earlier.
Okay.
Oh,
I'm just asking for your benefit so you don't have to come back. That's, okay.
I'm not sure.
Oh. According to this, that 1.3 is actually off the patio, it looks like. If you look at this drawing. this-
Yeah, that's what I'm questioning. That's why I've been questioning. it.
Because if you look at it, the deck, the existing deck is
Already in the,
right.
in the preservation area, and he's asking for another 1.3 on top of it.
Oh, right, yeah, if you go out on that patio. The patio's already encroaching.
Does that make sense, Teresa?
There's only one 1.3.
Right, but the 1.3 is encroaching today.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's asking for an additional on, outside of that.
No, I think, I'm hearing we need two approvals, right? We need the 11 point, we need into the 30-yard setback, and then we need into the preservation zone, right?
That's what I'm hearing. No,
But it's already sitting 1.3 into the
Right, it's already not
preservation.
compliant,
Right,
so
right.
that he doesn't
Right.
have to go rip it up.
Right.
We have to approve the 1.3.
Yeah, he just wants approval of that 1.3 that's already encroaching for the roof.
But
That's
yeah,
what I hear him saying.
yes, but looking at the map, you're right, the dotted line would go outside of that, so it'd have to be further than the 1.3.
Right.
So I think we would need to amend the application to be further than the 1.3. Yes,
So the question is how much?
Is the dotted line.
it's the
Is-
dotted line to your,
Is that
one of your
the,
points.
is that the roof, though?
That's where, yeah, that's where the roof would go over.
Okay,
I don't know
so-
exactly where the post would be.
But I don't know if it's an overhang,
From
which
the post?
wouldn't count. The overhang wouldn't count, right?
24 inches.
You're allowed 24 inch.
On a roof overhang?
24-inch overhang.
That's pretty generous.
Actually, based on what I can see, that should cover it.
Right.
Right.
That's what it should be.
But I was not a math major.
That's what it should be. It should be 2 foot outside of what's existing today, and then your post would be set inside of that 2
Yes,
foot.
yes, right, yes, that's my understanding. Okay. Okay, so. Okay, I guess we're into, are we at Duncan versus Middlefield, or is that where you guys want to head now?
Want me to tackle that?
Pardon? Yeah. Nobody's stopping you.
All right. The board reviewed section 307.06 of the zoning resolution reflecting Duncan v. Middlefield as it pertains to the area variance requested from section 909.01B and the Highland Lakes North Final Development Plan to allow for a roof deck to encroach 11.3 feet into the rear setback and 1.3 feet into the preservation zone in a planned residential zoning district, PRD, as follows. First, the property in question would yield a reasonable return and there can be beneficial use of the property without the variance, but it would not provide for the roof. B, the variance, I would say on the one hand, is substantial in that it's 11.3 feet into the rear setback of 30 feet. But as far as a preservation zone, it's not substantial, 1.3 feet into 20 feet. So I think we have both elements there. The essential character of the neighborhood would not be substantially altered, and the adjoining properties would not suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance, as evidenced by this board's granting of a similar, although not identical, variance to an adjoining property to the applicant. The variance would not adversely affect the delivery of governmental services. I think we've had no response, according to Susan, from emergency services. The property owner did purchase the property with knowledge of the zoning restriction, in that it's always the position of this board that purchasers of real estate understand what the restrictions are, even though they may not have firsthand knowledge of them. But they are charged with that knowledge. The property owner's predicament cannot be feasibly obviated through a method other than a variance. To install the roof over the existing porch and property, they will need the variance. The spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed, and substantial justice would be done by granting the variance, in that he can go ahead and put the roof over this particular property, as the adjoining property owner was able to do, presumably within the last year. Any further discussion, Mr. Chairman, or should we move to a motion?
We can go to a motion if you'd like.
Okay. I hereby move to incorporate exhibits A through, I think just D, right? A through D,
I think, yeah.
as well as the board's findings pertaining to the review of section 307.06 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution into evidence, and to approve the requested variance from section 909.01B of the Genoa Township zoning resolution and the Highland Lakes North final development plan for BZA case 2023-06. Application received April 24, 2023, to allow for a roofed deck structure to encroach 11.3 feet into a rear setback and 1.3 feet into a preservation zone on the property known as Lot 2922 in Highland Lakes North, address 5777 Ridgewood Avenue, Westerville, Ohio 43082, zoned planned residential development, the PRD. This motion is based upon the following findings of fact pursuant to section 307.04 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution. Number one, that such variance or modification will not be contrary to the public interest, because basically these variances have already been previously granted, not for a roof, but for the structure that's in place now. And also that the adjoining property owner has a similar variance. Two, that owing to special conditions, a literal enforcement of this zoning resolution will result in an unnecessary hardship, because the property owner would be unable to build the roof despite the fact that his neighbor has a similar property, and the variances have in effect already been granted for the property, but which did not include a roof at that time. Three, that the approval of such variance or modification thereof is consistent with the spirit of the zoning resolution, and substantial justice shall be done thereby, because the property owner would be permitted to just place a roof over a property that already has two variances approved for it. Approval of the subject variance is subject to the owner's agreement to the following conditions. Number one, all required permits, zoning or otherwise, be obtained. Number two, pursuant to section 307.11 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution, the approved variance shall lapse, expire, or be null and void ab initio if required zoning permits are not obtained within 1 year of this motion of approval. Number three, extensions to this variance may be requested pursuant to sections 307.11A and B of the Genoa Township zoning resolution, as may be amended. Number four, the Board of Zoning Appeals does grant the Genoa Township Zoning Inspector authority to extend the variance at their discretion, subject to the deadlines established within sections 307.11A of the Genoa Township Zoning Resolution, as may be amended. And then the additional condition, we probably once again should recognize the Highland Lakes Homeowners Association email sent to us, the condition that the property owner seek and obtain the approval of the Highland Lakes Homeowners Association to build and install the proposed roof.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion, and a second, and I have a comment.
Yeah, I have a couple things to go ahead.
Oh, maybe I'll take care of one or two of those. First of all, I think it's important to note that this variance application should have, well, looking at it the other way, should have no impact on whether or not the neighbor got a variance. Because each application stands in this room on its own, because each piece of real estate is different in and of itself. And that, and I'll repeat it, the fact that there has been a variance granted to the property next door has no impact on whether or not we grant a variance on this property. Staff.
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but in the motion, did you state that they already previously have a variance on the property? Because that is not correct.
Right.
They had zoning permits to build the existing decks, but they didn't need any variances because they were allowed to have an unroofed structure into the 30-foot setback, and then evidently the deck was constructed a little larger than it was proposed on the original zoning permit application, but they don't currently have. So this would take care of allowing them to put the roof on, and it would also take away the violation that they currently have for encroaching into that 20-foot setback. Whether or not it was a preserve area, they still are not allowed to encroach into that 20-foot setback because they have a 30-foot rear setback and they have to be 20 feet with a deck. But they don't I just wanted to clarify that they don't currently have a variance.
I misunderstood
On the
that. I thought they
property.
had it. Okay.
Okay.
Duly
Anything
noted.
else? Anybody? Anything?
There was one extra point recommended in the staff memo, that we restrict this to just the deck area that's currently there covering it. So how do we
I
feel
think
about having
that's
that?
the intent, but is that,
The memo recommended adding that as a fifth condition, so that's the
Oh.
only reason I bring it up.
So
Well,
it's
that would be a sixth condition, but yeah.
So my understanding is, like, if you grant a variance that they can build an addition, 10 feet into a setback, then that's their new setback point, and they could go all the way across. So if, if you put that condition in there, then I think that would prevent them from putting a roof structure all the way across.
going all the way across as opposed to just in the main deck?
Correct.
Which I don't think the applicant has an issue with, which I would agree. I think we need to add that condition into the motion. Do you want to state that the way that?
Yeah, how do I do that? Propose, make a
Propose an
motion
amendment.
for, okay.
Yeah,
Amend to the
amend
motion.
Okay. I move that we amend the motion with a sixth condition, that this variance request, or this variance approval is limited to covering the existing deck structure that's in place right now.
Second? Second that?
Wait a minute.
Okay.
Here's the thing, is there is a deck that goes all the way across, balcony deck, call it whatever you want, that goes all the way across. And my suggestion would be
Do we have a
to,
width?
to further define what we're approving, yeah, we do. Just Yeah, because if you look at his site plan, you can see that there is one that goes all the way across, and then it comes out on the right-hand side if you're looking at it. So basically, what you want to approve is,
On the northwest corner.
yeah, there you go. Northwest corner of the existing, okay, the northwest corner that's identified on his application site plan, that is identified as existing porch with new roof above. Right?
Yep.
But isn't that his request?
It is.
I mean, do we have to be
But-
that specific? I mean, I'm just asking
Susan,
because
well,
it
I
does
don't
seem
know,
like that's
Susan.
his.
Say per the application, or per what was proposed on the
Okay.
application, I think.
Okay. Because I agree, your point's well taken that you don't want to go all the way across. You want to limit it to what he's applied for. So, however you guys want to do that.
I'm just curious, I guess it really doesn't make much difference, but if it's inside the 30-foot setback line, could he not build the roof over here? Not here, I understand, because it's outside there, but couldn't he build it here?
Right.
But that's not
If
non-compliant.
he's not going into the 30-foot setback,
Right.
but he
Say
doesn't
this
have
part
much,
of it, he could build
correct,
the walkway. If he wanted to cover the walkway, he could do that.
correct.
So we're not restricting him from doing that, are we?
No,
Okay, okay. Yeah, makes
no,
sense.
whatever's, if it's compliant, it's compliant. You don't need a variance if it's compliant.
Correct.
Okay, so the motion as amended, shall I call the roll? Yes? Okay, Mr. Hanson? Yes. Mr. Boone?
Yes.
Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Ms. Yu?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, the variance is approved. And the hearing is concluded at 8:16. Okay, any other items on the agenda? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Mr. Phillips, Mr. Boone, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, meeting's adjourned.